Hello and welcome to Winchester Now, our weekly news programme here on Winchester Radio. I'm Mary Blaxland. Some of the stories in the programme this week. A special ceremony takes place to honour our armed forces. The future of a derelict military base is debated, and why people will be singing for Sanctuary this weekend. Winchester Radio. Our armed forces have been honoured in a special ceremony in Winchester as part of Armed Forces Week. A flag was raised outside the Great Hall as a symbol of respect. Many dignitaries were present for the event, including the Vice Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff, judges, county and city councillors and the Mayor, as well as representatives from the Army, Navy and Royal Air Force and the emergency services. A parade of Royal Navy personnel marched down Castle Avenue to the Great Hall to be inspected by the Vice Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire, Colonel Charles Ackroyd. Standard bearers from the Royal British Legion lined up outside. How important is it that we have events like this?
Hugely important because, as I just said in my speech, Hampshire has got probably the largest number of armed forces within the county boundary, and we depend on the armed forces to a huge extent. They're part of our life and being in Hampshire, and so we should honour them at every opportunity. So it's a great privilege to be here today to see the flag raised in their honour.
And you met some of the young naval ratings. What did you say to them?
Well, I'm principally interested in how long they've been in the Royal Navy and what they do as jobs in the Royal Navy. And some of them have been in for a few years, one have been in for 19 years. They're in Portsmouth at the moment, going about their different jobs. One or two are waiting to be posted onto ships, but they're clearly having a very good time and learning a lot, and of course pulling their weight for the nation.
And they put so much into it, don't they? They give so much of their life to the armed forces. It's right that we pay honour to them, really.
Most definitely, yes. It's a way of life for them, but they have to put up with an enormous amount. At short notice, they have to go and carry out jobs and tasks, not just supporting the armed forces, but, for instance, being prepared to back up the emergency services if need be. So they are having to work 24/7, which many of us wouldn't like or appreciate.
May God, our strength and refuge, bless this flag. May all who see it flying here stand in support of our armed forces, at the start of this week, at its end, and in the days to come.
The flag was blessed before it was raised. It's the first time this parade has been held since the start of the pandemic.
It'd be Jennifer Mennell, warfare specialist in the Royal Navy.
And what did it mean for you to be here today?
I think it's really nice, and it's obviously nice to see the local communities in schools coming to see what we do and celebrating, and hopefully inspire them one day. But overall, it's really nice and grateful for the turnout as well.
How important do you think it is that people, the public here, the school children, remember the armed forces on this day and in the future?
I think it's important, especially because they may not be from military background families, so it's something new for them. Then they might get a bit curious and want to do more revolving around the military. Yeah, hopefully one day be inspired to become part of it.
Members of the public also came to show their support to armed forces past and present. School pupils from St Bede's were among those watching.
I think it's very brave that they've shown the courage to put themselves on the front line and be the ones who get hurt instead of us.
I think they have to have a lot of trust in each other, because as you see today, there's a lot of people here who are all here to celebrate the armed forces, and the armed forces is a very large community.
I think they're very brave to serve our country, to maybe give up their lives to save us.
So good that we're honouring them here today.
Yes, very good.
And seeing the young people here from the schools as well, it's important that they realise what it's all about too.
Yes, indeed. As our armed forces get smaller and the visibility of armed forces out and about in the community decreases, it is important that our those at school, do understand just what others do to keep us safe, both now and in the future.
A master plan for the redundant Bushfield camp has this week been given the backing of city councillors. The plan sets out in more detail proposals for developing the former army base. After debate, councillors on the committee decided to give it their support. With more information, here's Steve Walker.
Since the army moved out of the site in the 1970s, Bushfield camp has stood derelict for decades. For years there has been a debate about what should happen there. In recent months, a number of meetings have been held to discuss possible options. Now the publication of a master plan reveals proposals for the land in more detail. These include a business park, student accommodation, a hotel, shops, nursery, cafe and sports facilities, as well as open space. Land nearby would be preserved, including Drovers Field, which is popular with walkers. The first images of the proposals can be seen in documents on the City Council's website. The developers say the proposals will provide a new and lasting legacy for the city with job and education opportunities, but the plans are also highly controversial. A petition to oppose the scheme, set up by the Badger Farm and Oliver's Battery Residents Community Association last week, already has hundreds of signatures. They say the development is inappropriate and are concerned about the potential increase in traffic and congestion, visual impact and damage to the environment. The next steps would be an application for outline planning approval, possibly to be submitted this autumn, and if those plans are approved, development would start in 2025 and take about 10 years to complete. This is Steve Walker for Winchester Now.
Some more news now in brief. Upper Brook Street in Winchester closes to traffic next Monday for more than a year. It's as work continues to build a new St Clement's surgery on the site of the former car park. Unit 12's clothing pantry will be opening its doors to the public on Saturday. All clothing is being sold to raise money for the food pantry. Donations of clothes can also be made at the event between 12 and 4. The clothing pantry aims to help with the cost of living crisis and stop clothes going to waste. A new beech tree has been planted in the Abbey Gardens play area to celebrate the recent coronation of King Charles III. A ceremony was led by the Mayor of Winchester. And Winchester's young peregrine Rosie has taken her first flight. She's been spotted circling around the cathedral. People have gathered by the north side of the building to watch the youngster perched on the ledge by the rose window, after which she is named. Winchester Radio. 2 men have cycled 96 miles on a tandem in the hope of raising £96,000 to help preserve church music. Hugh Morris and Paul Headley are director and assistant director of the Royal School of Church Music. They stopped off at Winchester Cathedral during their ride to join Evensong. Many church choirs were badly impacted by the pandemic. The organisation aims to help music flourish again.
Well, it seemed a good idea at the time as to why we decided to do it. But this weekend, it goes across RSCM's Music Sunday. That's today. It's about celebrating music in worship, the people that do the music, and about the way that music connects churches and communities. It's also the RSCM's 96th year. It's 96 miles from the RSCM's home that it had for about 40 years in Croydon, Addington Palace, to where we now have our offices in Salisbury. So we're doing a ride on this tandem of 96 miles to celebrate Music Sunday and draw attention to the work that we're doing and looking to raise funds, of course, to support the work that we're doing to enable the flourishing of church music.
And tell me a bit about the work that you do and how you do encourage that music.
We have several strands to our work. There's a key education strand, and that encompasses all sorts of programmes to do with young people's development, as well as the youth choirs that we run. There's an advocacy strand, which is about talking about the importance of church music and church musicians in the context of worship. It's a very wide remit that we're involved with across church music. That's what we're trying to do, enable the flourishing of church music, whether that is in a beautiful building like the one we're standing in front of in Winchester Cathedral, or a little parish church in a tiny village. It still matters that church music and music happens, whether that's an organ, whether that's a small choir, a large choir, a professional choir, an amateur choir.
Because church music was quite impacted by the pandemic as well, I believe.
It certainly was. Lots of churches found things very, very difficult, and the RSCM worked hugely hard during the pandemic to help churches to keep doing something and to know what they were allowed to do and how they might resource something in terms of an ongoing music in worship. So some of that was around interpreting government advice and producing some guidance. Some of it was also around providing churches with the means of actually carrying on in the case of we're not allowed to work together, we're not allowed to be in church together, but it still matters.
Have things recovered since then, or are they recovering now?
Still going, I would say. We know from our own events, we put on events across the country via our area teams, and attendance at those events is not at the levels it was pre-pandemic in many cases. It's fundamentally shifted a few things. It had a particular impact on young people. It affected cathedral choirs and the recruitment they had to them. It certainly affected choirs at parish level. So there is a recovery, but it's a gradual thing. The thing about church music, I suppose, is it's a long burn activity, and you have to invest in, if you have a young child join your choir, well, actually it takes them 2 or 3 years to really reach the point where they're really confident in what they're doing and growing and contributing. And so, it's a steady upward trajectory, and we're doing our best to support and resource that. It's a sort of still a long and winding road ahead.
It's part of our history, isn't it, church music? It's part of what makes us British, isn't it?
Oh, it's a massively important part of our heritage. The music of our parish churches is a tradition that's massively admired across the world. And I think sometimes in this country we're actually a bit blind to it, or many people are blind to it. And so one of the things that we're trying to do, not least through doing this cycle ride, is say, well, look, it's something that really matters. It really matters.
And how is the cycle ride going? What's it like being on a tandem?
The tandem has actually turned out reasonably well. It's not ideal in terms of geometry for either of us, but we've got into a decent rhythm, I think, and found our way where we don't have to shout at each other to say, do this, do that. We're sort of feeling it quite effectively now. Hills are okay with a bit of work from the back, which is me.
Yes, we're very grateful to Paul at the back.
and Hugh's doing all of the steering and gearing. So, it's turning out all right.
And what's keeping you going?
I think a little bit of motivation is around the fundraising. Lots of people have been very generous. There's still time to be generous, so please do. But the other thing is we care about this cause. So putting ourselves and challenging ourselves physically, yes, it's a challenge, but actually we're not just doing it for fun, we're doing it for a reason.
Hi, I'm Paul Blitz, and it's time for the shout-outs here on Winchester Now. Our first shout out is to staff and volunteers at the Winchester Beacon. 2023 marks 35 years since it was established as the night shelter, and in that time thousands of people have been helped to escape homelessness. The Beacon accommodates 22 people across 4 sites, giving them support to rebuild their lives. Winchester Basics Bank has thanked everyone who donated to a collection point at Pets at Home. It was set up to receive donations of food for dogs, cats, rabbits and small animals as the cost of living problems continue. The store is also doubling what is received in donations too, so thank you to them. Congratulations to local football club Compton FC, who've had a great success this season. 3 of their teams, the under-18s, the Vets and the newly formed under-16 girls team, have all won their respective leagues. The walking football team also took home some silverware following a recent trip to Portugal for a prestigious tournament involving teams from across Europe. All 3 triumphant teams had their own award evenings, but will also receive medals from the FA at an event in St Mary's Stadium on Saturday. Well done everybody, and thank you for everything you do.
Winchester Radio.
As we told you last week, this week marks Refugee Week here in Winchester, and on Saturday a special concert will be performed at the Cathedral. Choirs, schools, organisations and community groups will come together to sing and perform, and there'll be opportunities for the audience to join in too. The aim is to celebrate our shared humanity. Winchester University set up a sanctuary choir to be part of the event, and I went along to a rehearsal to talk to some of those who joined up.
Hello, my name is Mary O'Brien.
And what made you want to join this choir?
My choir, the Fusion Choir in Winchester and Eastleigh, are going to be taking part in the Singing for Sanctuary. And we're here tonight, some of us, to practice. I love the fact that Winchester is a city of sanctuary. It just is such a beautiful thing to be, to offer friendship and warmth to people who need that.
And it's going to be a lovely concert, isn't it, on Saturday?
It's going to be an absolutely fabulous concert. The university has put together a very beautiful programme, and everybody can come. You don't have to be in a choir. You don't have to be a singer. Everybody can come and be part of this experience of making sound for people who we're welcoming to the city.
Andy Wainwright.
What made you join this choir?
Well, I've been singing with the Fusion Choir for about 5 years now. This was a great opportunity to do something a bit different. Singing for Sanctuary is something that I really believe in.
Tell me a bit about some of the music that you're going to be singing.
As far as I'm aware, there are one or two things everybody knows about and one or two new bits which I haven't done yet. So it'll be very interesting to sing, and having so many people in joint choirs leading a good congregation, that'll be really, really wonderful, I'm sure.
An important message as well to get out there, isn't it?
Very much so, very important, yeah. So the more that we can celebrate by singing is really, really good, you know.
I'm Olivia King. I'm an alumni of the university, and this particular concert sparked a lot of deep feelings regarding people having places of sanctuary and also safe places and a home. I think that especially with everything that's been going on with all the migrants, that it's definitely something that we need to focus on for the future, and I think that choirs coming together like this and showing community is something that can help towards that feeling of community and safety.
What difference do you think it'll make, or do you hope it'll make, having this concert in the cathedral on Saturday?
Well, obviously the cathedral gives it a lot of grandeur. It's obviously open to the public, so I think that being in the cathedral gives it that gravitas, and hopefully people will really listen to our message.
And what was it in particular that touched you?
I think in particular what touched me is the music that's been chosen and the different pieces that we're trying to sort of show different types of places of safety and sanctuary within our music. Us as a choir, we're singing Abide With Me, which has a lot of different feelings within it, obviously being a piece that's often used at funerals, but it also means what it says, abide with me, come and be with me. We thought that was an important message to get across.
Well, the concert takes place at 3:30 this Saturday and doors open at 3. That's all for this week. Don't forget you can email any news or stories to news@winchester.radio. Many thanks for listening.